Well, indeed, my friends. Come on in to the fabulous Clark the Shark Show. Coming to you, maybe not live, but wherever you are. On this night, May 12, 2023, I was coming to you from Los Angeles, California, the home of the fabulous Clark the Shark Show, from the golden EIB sharkerphone. It's never a microphone, you guys. It's a sharkerphone, baby. It's a golden EIB excellence in shark casting sharkerphone. Because today, I'm going to talk about one of the most misunderstood albums in the history of rock music. Now, me, Clark the Shark, as I grew up in, Redondo Beach and Torrance, sort of, going my merry way, living my life, I would, from time to time, stumble upon this 1967 album by the Rolling Stones, their Satanic Majesties request. And, this album over the years gets an unfair bad rap from some critics and fans alike, and musicians too. And then it gets kind of sometimes an unfair praise as being really great, when it's neither mediocre nor great. But this album definitely has some special magical quality or something about it that you can't put your finger on exactly what it is right here on the Clark the Shark Show. Now me, Clark the Shark, the Wolfman Jack on crack, in my days of wandering this earth, I have had many a times where I have said, I hate this album. I can't stand it. And I'm probably just parroting so much of what I've heard from a very early age, reading Cream and Circus and Rolling Stone and Music Connection and Billboard and the LA Times and, Robert Hilburn or, Lester Bangs or whoever. The Enemy, the, Melody Maker, all the musical papers. And, but over my 58 years, there comes these nights where I will devote and listen to this whole album, usually on CD. And I have come to the conclusion officially now, me, Clark the Shark, that this is a great album, you guys. Is it a great album like Beggar's Banquet? No. Is it a better album than Between the Buttons? Also from 1967, albeit earlier in the year. It's apples to oranges, and that's irrelevant. This album is a Rolling Stones island, if you will. It is an anomaly by the Stones. They never again did another album like this after it, and they never did anything like this before it. This album is a sanctuary for, people like me, Clark the Shark, that love psychedelic rock. Of course, give me some time and I'm going to cut through all the, how my opinion has been formed of this album. Leave me to my own devices and I'm going to figure it out that this album truly was and is great. Now, Keith Richards, he doesn't like it, and Mick doesn't like it, but both of them have said, yeah, it's got merit. There's definitely something to this album. There are catchy melodies all over the place, like the Rolling Stones usually do. And this is probably the last Rolling Stones album that is this catchy. And maybe the first, that's like this. Before this, the Stones were a 1960s sounding rock band. And then, of course, Beggar's Banquet moving forward. They become the great Rolling Stones, the greatest rock and roll band in the world. But on this album, they were fucking around and experimenting like so many bands were in 1967, like The Who Sell Out, like Frank Zappa, We're Only in It for the Money, and, lots of albums, The Beatles, Sgt. Pepper, et cetera, et cetera. But there is something to be said for this very unique and very weird Rolling Stones album that I am actually, me, Clark the Shark, I'm ashamed I ever hated this album. And I'm also kind of ashamed that I like it. I'm completely torn and confused, you guys, on this album. Even right now, in the wee hours at 3 a.m. on May 12, 2023, where I deliver this review of this psychedelic. It's not a masterpiece, but a very confusing, bizarre album. And, there's other people, too, who their opinion of this album has had a huge upgrade in recent years. And, the people who hate this album, they're going to hate it forever, some of them. Some of them might come around someday, like me, Clark the Shark. But, I bet you this gets 2s and 3s. I don't think it gets 5. But, I'd love to see the reviews on this. I haven't even checked the reviews out of this in a while. A 4, a 3, a 4, 4, 4. Wow, it gets 4s. I didn't expect that. I expected 3s, but I'm not surprised because this is a good album. And of course, Sing This All Together, 3 minutes, 46 seconds. An interesting song, you guys. I don't hate the song, Sing This All Together. It's melodic, it's the Stones experimenting. It's, like acoustic. And is it as good as like the Who Sell Out type of music? No, but it's good. It's interesting. I definitely listen to Sing This All Together. And I want you guys to buy this album out there at Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, or get the vinyl. I really think all of you young people born in 2001 and you're only 22 right now, I want you to buy this album wherever you can and check these songs out. Now, Citadel, the second song, this is a hard rock anthem, you guys. Many heavy metal, hard rock and roll bands over the years have pointed to this heavy riffing song as one of the greatest and original songs like that ever. Great idea at the time, very melodic. Charlie Watts drumming on this song and this whole album is exposed, for his limitations. But all in all, taken as a whole, it's all good, you guys. And I love the heavy guitar on Citadel. It's a great Rolling Stones song. It's a classic, you guys. One of their best songs. No doubt about it. And In Another Land, which is the Bill Wyman song, which is, interesting song, you guys. I don't think Bill Wyman ever did another song where he sang the lead vocals. I could be wrong there, but on this song, I really like this weird tune that could be from, Syd Barrett and Pink Floyd, Pipers at the Gates of Dawn, or the Who Sell Out, kind of has a Silas Stingy, Rail, parts 1 and 2 vibe. In Another Land, interesting psychedelia from Bill Wyman, and they actually captured him snoring. And they put it in the song as a joke. That's something I always wanted to do in the Greenhouse Effect, catch Ted or sleeping and record him snoring and then play it backwards in the song. Man, that'd be fucking cool. 2000 Man, we all, everybody Come on, you know that song. Kiss covers it, of course, but it's a well-known Stones song. I can't believe it's not lit up in blue here at the Wikipedia. But that's a great song. I love 2000, man. Very catchy and melodic. And, sing this all together. Now, here, of course, is where the album gets a little self-indulgent and weird. Some people hate it. Some people might like it. There's like these African beats and all these noises. And, track 5, though, this album really loses it, people, on side 1. Me, Clark the Shark, I kind of like it because at the time, it was, I don't know, it was kind of cutting edge, breakthrough shit, the Stones. And then again, it was kind of mundane, psychedelia, run-of-the-mill too. But I don't know, But side 1 of this album, with Citadel and 2000 Man and In Another Land, and Sing This All Together. Interesting songs, you guys. And you can tell right here, it is unfair to pan this album based on side 1, certainly. The side 1's not bad. Could have been better, but it's not bad. Now, She's a Rainbow. Side 2 is good stuff, you guys. And this is probably one of those albums where the Rolling Stones are maybe trying to get deep, and write some technical, deeper stuff than they normally do. She's a Rainbow is a big hit. It's a song we all know. It's an awesome song, you guys. And that song, Dandelion, is not on this album, but should have been. That's a great Rolling Stones psychedelia killer song, too. I always run those two songs together, She's a Rainbow and Dandelion. Now, The Lantern is where you get hints of the future Rolling Stones to come. You can hear little snippets of Exile on Main Street and Beggar's Banquet and Let It Bleed starting to form on some of these songs on side 2. Gomper. Also kind of the Stones are experimenting with throwaway filler songs, but they're needling and, sticking them in the sides, trying to see what works, what doesn't, see what ticks. And The Lantern and Gomper, definitely two of those songs where the Rolling Stones are feeling around, trying to feel the future, but very much they are in 1967 also. And 2000 Light Years from Home, one of the greatest songs in rock music ever by any rock band. Come on, you guys, you cannot deny that song. 2000 Light Years from Home. It's a song the Rolling Stones play live in concert off and on, even to this very day. And in 1989, when I saw the Stones at the LA Coliseum, they played that song, you guys, 2000 Light Years from Home. And on with the show, once again, silly song. Yeah, man. Now, is this album corny, weird, a cornucopia pizza blend of just weirdness? Yeah, it is, you guys. I can't say this album is super great, but I can't say it's super bad. It's a transitional album, you guys, and yet it's an arrival album too. And yet it's its own little special project. Nothing like the Rolling Stones before it. And in many ways on this album, the Rolling Stones grow up and they sort of become the Rolling Stones on this album. Not really. Before this album, they were trying to get on the charts with the hit singles and all that, trying to be like the Who and the Beatles and all those other bands, the Zombies and the Monkees. And, you can just go down the list of all of them, Chad and Jeremy, whatever. But the Turtles. But on this album, the Stones get ambitious, you guys. Maybe, for better or for worse, and maybe for worse. But I really love the confused, uneasy solidity of this album. You get the feeling this album is really solid, and you also get the feeling that it's just falling apart. and it's coming undone at the seams, and there's no way to repair or fix it. And yet, if you listen to this album over and over, I guarantee no matter who you are out there, right here on the Clark the Shark Show, you're going to love the Rolling Stones, their Satanic Majesty's Request. And the title of this, of course, taken from either a TV show or magazine or something that Mick and Keith and Brian saw. And then they, there, of course, there's the pun inside joke or whatever that the Stones are evil. And so they said, okay, with Satanic Majesty's Request instead of, whatever that other title was that they were sort of manipulating here for this album. But yeah, you guys, all the bad negative reviews are wrong. And the few really good, great reviews of this are probably wrong too. The truth lies somewhere in the middle. But me, Clark the Shark, this is an interesting album that I listen to a lot. And I keep going back and listening to it. And I don't mean like Genesis Abacab or something like that. I mean, I go back and listen to this because there is definitely merit and quality in this album. And I appreciate the fact that the Stones were trying to change here. And sort of like the Beatles' Revolver, they were reaching and stabbing in the dark, throwing things at the wall and see what sticks. And yet, you also get the feeling that they knew this was a one-time thing and they would never do this again. And as it turned out, people, that becomes true. There was never another Rolling Stones psychedelic album after this one or before this one, really. There is some weird stuff on Between the Buttons and some other places in the Stones' career, but this is definitely the weirdest, most unusual, strange Rolling Stones album. And it's got some great songs on it, you guys. And it's got catchy melodies all over it. Do I respect this album like those great Rolling Stones albums? Let It Bleed, Beggar's Banquet, Sticky Fingers, etc., Exile. No, I don't. But I will compare this to any Rolling Stones album in a way, just for the goodness of this album, you guys. I'm Clark the Shark from the Golden EIB Sharkerphone, and you just got the only amazing psychedelic review of this album by the Rolling Stones, their Satanic Majesty's Request, that you will ever need. Tons and tons of instrumentation here, you guys. This is Brian Jones' favorite Rolling Stones album, and this is the album where Brian Jones does the most. You can tell he really cared about this album. And when the Stones stripped things down in 1968, he might have liked that, but all that Brian Jones stuff with all his marimbas and xylophones and all the instruments he plays, and he often learns how to play the same day. The Rolling Stones would never do that again after this album. And you can tell that Brian Jones got a little disillusioned. He wanted to do another weird album like this, and it never happened. Perhaps, I don't know. But, he would die in 1969, and, we'll never know. Of course, the Stones wouldn't be doing any more weird albums like this in the 70s or late 60s. But it might have been cool to hear one more weird Stones album about March 1968. That might have been interesting, but it never happened, you guys, and we'll never know now. And I would have loved to have given Brian Jones one more chance to pile on all his weird instruments like he did on this album, you guys. But God rest his soul. Rest in peace, Brian. He's gone now, but this album was his claim to fame. And for the Rolling Stones, I often get the feeling that maybe Mick and Keith don't like this album because it is such a Brian Jones album, you guys. But who knows? I'm Clark the Shark, and you just got the gospel, the word, the testimony, the truth about the Rolling Stones, their Satanic Majesty's Request, 1967. Such an amazing, great year for psychedelia, where the Stones were lost, confused, torn. They didn't know what to do. And they made this album just by mistake, accident, or maybe calculated. But for better or for worse, for richer, for poorer, for whatever, this album remains an artifact today, people, whatever it is. And I'm out of here. Peace.